So I think I'd always been curious to discover more about coaching. I was lucky enough to have been coached sort of on one-off sessions by a few people, and also in my job, I work for a law firm. We have a coach that we worked with, so I haven't been on the receiving end of that, but I'd seen the work that he'd done with some of the junior people. So back in, I think it was March, I did the introduction to coaching. I think that the certificate program was the name, and I was really, really impressed. I was absolutely blown away. And I think when you finish something and you just almost have this fire inside of you and you think, I need to go deeper into this, and to really sort of pursue this journey to see if I do want to be a coach, if it's something I could do and I could be good at. So I think it was Karen Smart from the AoEC who recommended the Practitioner diploma to me. And initially I was a little bit hesitant about the idea of doing it online, but I thought, well, Laura, you know what? This is the world we live in now. You have no choice. Let's see what happens. And then I knew that it was the right thing to sign up to do the course with you. It's honestly a really difficult question to answer because I think absolutely everything. What did I enjoy about the program? I love the fact that, first of all, I think within a matter of minutes, these reservations that I had about doing something like this online completely went away. And I think, Natalia, because of the way it was organised, there was a lot of transparency right from the start about what we were going to be doing on each of the modules. I think that's really useful when you're doing something that you would have thought that you'd do in a face-to-face environment, right? So I think, you know, any nervousness that you have about, well, how's it going to work with this technology at a point where I wasn't that familiar yet with doing things on Zoom was really, really helpful. I also think that you and Stephen and Sarah managed to create a kind of environment very, very quickly where people felt comfortable. So I think for me, that was really, really important. And also we managed to create this wonderful atmosphere and really build rapport with each other. So that's me and my peers, and also a sort of closeness with the facilitators as well, that massively stood out for me. I think the relationships that I built as a result of the course is something that will stay with me forever. I mean, I could go on and on with this answer. I also think that because I'm very interested in psychology, sort of the different models that we learned about that were grounded in psychology, I think was super, super interesting for me. And I think sort of then getting the chance to go away, learn the techniques, and then actually put them into practice and kind of see how they worked in real life coaching sessions with your peers was, yeah, was fascinating. To be honest, the greatest value for me in that is the sense of achievement. I think I went from a point where we had all of this information and there was all of this learning. And I vividly remember sitting down, taking out a piece of paper and saying, right, now I've got to come up with this model. How can I start brainstorming? And I think that the journey that you go on as an individual, from where you're at this start point, and you basically have to refine and edit the information in a way that means it can be turned into something useful and practical, is something that I don't think I've ever done before in my life in quite that way. So I think for me as well, a huge, huge sort of learning or takeaway was how much more I discovered about myself through the process. You know, I like to think that I'm someone who's very self-aware. I've done a lot of work on myself over the years. I think, you know, I work in HR, and it's quite important in my line of work as well that I'm self-aware. But I didn't realize how much more there was to go on this journey. So I think at the end, saying I've come up with something which is unique to me, when a month or two ago I didn't even think it was possible for me to do this. You sort of you feel like you're suddenly an inch taller, you know, this growth and this development that you then get to offer up to your coachees is something pretty magical. And that there's so many things that I could say for this, but I think the greatest takeaway or the greatest learning for me was really how important it is to give people space. So I think it really made me think how rarely in everyday life do we feel listened to. And I think as a coach, that gift of being able to offer your undivided attention and be there purely in service of your coachee is something that, you know, throughout the course, we were also on the receiving end of. So when I was coached by my peers, I suddenly realized, well, how much I needed this space and this sort of opportunity to express myself. So I think it's that, you know, I've been able to hopefully develop my active listening skills and really think about how I can offer those up to other people. And also another big takeaway was how unique all of us are. And it sounds like a silly thing to say as a discovery, but you realize all of us coach in a different way. All of us like being coached in a different way. And I think that sort of realization of the uniqueness of human beings as individuals is also something that has stayed with me. So I would say that even though, you know, I went into the course thinking, I don't know exactly what I want to do with this afterwards, you know, exactly what it's going to look like if I do qualify, but it still felt like a really sort of important and interesting thing for me to do. So even though I would say I haven't started using it yet outside my work environment with external clients or even formally in work, I think that I can see the impact really in every kind of interaction or conversation I have. So I can give you an example, even going into meetings, you know, I have a number of meetings every day on WebEx or on Zoom, and I always try to ground myself first. And I think, well, you know, remember to give everyone space, because I that other people are having to me, I can see that there's a positive difference. You know, having conversations with junior lawyers in my firm and really trying to bring those coaching skills into the conversations in an informal way. I think that's immensely powerful. And sort of personal life is very similar. So going back to what I said before, I think that just this recognition that all of us are unique, you know, and it links to the diversity and inclusion argument, which is a space I'm very passionate about, that all of us are a whole package and we need to be recognized as that. We're all whole beings. And I think that when you use those skills in conversations and interactions, you are giving people permission to be themselves. And I think that's one of the most interesting and exciting and powerful tools that a coach, someone who's done this course, has in their fingertips. And there's surely their differentiator is their people. So even if if you're providing a service, you're providing products, all organizations talk about attracting and retaining the best talent. And there was actually something that I came across in one of the books on our reading list, which I think was called Time to Think or Time to Listen by Nancy Klein. And it was how to create this environment whereby, for example, you'd go into a meeting and you'd establish a certain structure first, and you'd lay ground rules. And those ground rules could be no interruptions, or those ground rules could be, we take it in turns and we go around the room and we ask every single person for their suggestions or ideas on a certain, a certain topic or a certain matter. And I think that even those things, as an HR professional and also as a line manager, as a leader, being able to use those coaching skills to really, again, it comes back to giving people space, because when you give people space, you're creating psychological safety, which means that people aren't scared anymore. They don't have that fear, which often impedes creative thinking, innovative thinking. And I just think, again, great minds don't think alike, right? So that famous expression that we all have heard a million times and probably repeated, great minds think alike, well, they don't. And so I really just think that the skills and the competencies that a coach has, if they're rolled out in an organization, so all HR team members, all managers, all leaders know about them and can utilize them, it basically just raises the level, raises the standard, creates psychological safety, and ultimately, it leads people to be able to take more risks with suggestions, to speak out. And I think that can only be a good thing for organizations. You're also role modeling behaviors, aren't you? So I think also if you get more senior people to be using these skills with each other, and they are around, more junior members of staff, again, there's a famous expression which is sort of in certain environments that a whisper becomes a shout.
Yeah.
And I do really think that when junior people see senior people leading by example, modeling certain behaviors, whether they're made explicit or not, that then becomes the accepted norm in the organization. And I also think we could go as far as saying this becomes then something to strive for. So I also think that again is something that's very powerful.